Some nights, I ask myself, what would happen if you received a letter that was never meant to reach you? A letter forgotten under layers of time's dust, waiting for a stranger like me to open it, read it, and be drawn into an unfinished love. Story from 100 years ago. It all began on a drizzly afternoon. I was wandering down an old street when I stepped into a thrift shop to escape the rain. Inside, everything was cluttered: broken clocks, faded paintings, silent music boxes, and an old wooden box hidden in the corner. I don't know why I was drawn to it. The shop owner said it had been there for ages, ignored by everyone. I bought it out of pure curiosity, never knowing I was bringing home a secret. When I opened the box, I found the letter. The paper was yellowed, the ink faded, but still legible. To you, the woman I love more than life itself. My hands trembled as I read line after line, feeling as if someone was whispering beside my ear. The strangest thing was the name at the end. It was my name. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tucked the letter under my pillow. And then I started to dream. In the dream, I stood on an old cobblestone street, empty and lit by flickering oil lamps. A young man in a white traditional robe waited under a tamarind tree. He held the letter in his hand. He looked at me with eyes so familiar, as if I had known him somewhere far, somewhere long ago. The wind whispered in my ear, "Find me. Return this letter. Leave the story we left unfinished." I woke up before dawn, clutching the faded paper in my hand as if afraid it would vanish. The dream lingered, so vivid I could still smell the faint scent of rain on old cobblestones. I knew I had to find out who he was. The next day, I returned to the shop. The owner, an old man with half-moon glasses, looked at me with mild surprise when I asked about the box. He shrugged, saying it came from an estate sale of a house abandoned for decades. Something in me pulled me to that house. It stood at the end of a forgotten lane, covered in ivy and silence. I pushed open the creaking door, stepping into a world frozen in time: dusty portraits, cracked walls, whispers of memories trapped in the furniture. In an old drawer, I found a faded photograph: a young man in a white robe, standing beside a woman whose face was blurred with age and damage. But I knew that was me, or someone who looked just like me, a century ago. That night, I dreamed again. He was closer this time, his voice clearer: "Finish what we started. Find the truth." I woke up with a question echoing in my mind: what happened to us, and why did this letter never reach its home? The more I tried to live my normal life, the more the letter clung to me. At work, I caught myself staring at the words again and again, tracing each faded curve of ink as if I could summon his voice through the paper. At night, the dreams deepened. They were no longer just dreams, they were memories. I could feel the rough silk of the robe against my skin, the chill of dawn air in a distant courtyard, the tremble in my heart when he whispered my name. One evening, I decided to visit the local library, hoping to find records about the old house. The archivist, a kind woman with thin spectacles, brought out dusty books and yellowed newspapers. I sat there for hours, piecing together fragments of someone else's life, someone who once wore my face. In an old headline, I read, "Young poet disappears mysteriously on wedding eve. His name, Nguyen Min Lam. Year, 1923." The photo attached was grainy but unmistakable: the man from my dreams. My hands shook. I searched for the bride's name, but it was blurred, water-stained and torn. Just one letter left, an initial, A. Could it be me? Or someone who shared my name? Why did I have this letter, a letter he wrote but never delivered? That night, I dreamed not of the street, but of a candlelit room. He sat at a wooden desk, writing the last words of the letter, sealing it with trembling hands. He looked up at me through the haze of time and mouthed, "Remember." I jolted awake, heart pounding. The candlelight, the desk, the old ink, they were calling me to find the rest of the story. To find out why the letter stayed hidden for 100 years. I knew then, it wasn't just a letter. It was a promise. And I was about to break open a door to a love story that refused to die. I couldn't sit still. That night, I packed a small bag and took the first bus back to the old quarter where the abandoned house stood. The street was empty, heavy with mist, and the iron gate creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, moonlight spilled through broken windows, throwing shadows across the faded wallpaper. I felt my way back to the dusty study where I'd found the photograph. This time, I searched every drawer, every crack between warped floorboards, and then, behind a loose brick in the fireplace, I found it, a bundle of yellowed letters tied with a red silk ribbon, brittle with age. My hands trembled as I untied them. Dozens of pages, all written in the same careful hand. All addressed to me, or her, or both. As I read, my breath caught in my throat. Each letter was a piece of him, his fears, his hopes, his desperate love. He wrote of a secret promise, of a plan to run away together on the eve of their arranged wedding. But the last letter was unfinished, ending mid-sentence. If you find this, it means our plan failed. But our love must find its way back. I will wait, even if it takes 100. The ink trailed off into a blur. No signature. No date. Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed the study door shut. The old house groaned around me like a living thing. I pressed the letters to my chest. I could almost hear his footsteps in the hall, the faint scent of ink and sandalwood drifting through the dust. In the silence, I understood, this was never just a ghost story. It was a vow reaching across time. He had been waiting for me to remember, to return, to finish what we could not. Outside, dawn was breaking. I stood in the ruined doorway, the letters safe in my bag. Somewhere, somehow, I knew this was only the beginning. I didn't go home. I couldn't. With the bundle of letters pressed to my chest, I checked into a small guest house near the old lane. All night, I laid them out on the bed, piecing them together like fragile shards of a broken mirror. Each word brought his voice closer. Each page stitched the dreams and memories tighter into my waking life. I saw the secret meetings in a hidden garden. I heard the promises whispered under moonlight. I felt the hope that must have burned so bright. Until it was stolen by something neither of us could control. At dawn, exhausted but driven by something bigger than fear, I went back to the house one last time. There, in the garden overgrown with weeds, I found it, a small stone marker, half buried beneath wild jasmine. I knelt down, brushing away the vines and dirt. Carved faintly into the stone was his name, Nguyen Min Lam. Below it, a line, I will wait, my love. I don't remember how long I stayed there. The rising sun filtered through the branches, warming the cold stone. I read the letters aloud, every word, as if he could hear me, and I think he did. Because for a fleeting moment, I felt him beside me. The same eyes from my dreams, the same warmth in the air, and then, like a breath in the wind, he was gone, but the story didn't vanish with him. I knew now that the letter had found its way home, through me. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in the spaces between dreams and waking, we had found each other again. When I left the garden, I didn't look back. Some stories don't end, they wait to be remembered, rewritten, relived by hearts brave enough to open old boxes and read the words meant only for them.